On July 16, 1861, the Confederates took victory under the First Battle of Bull Run due to their overwhelming superior generals. It was the first major land-based confrontation of the American Civil War. Irvin McDowell was the general for the Union and decided to march down to the south, but encountered enemies along the way. Day and night, men fought, and by July 21, 1861, the Union decided to retreat from the battle. The Confederates had more reinforcements than they did. By the next day, President Lincoln called out for 500,000 men who were willing to serve for the next 3 years.
The North saw slavery as inhumane and not moral. The North knew the reality of having slaves while the South was living in romance.
South Carolina and other southern states did not want to be a part of a nation that wanted to abolish slavery. They knew if they did not have slaves, their economy would plummet.
The Battle of Antietam, also known as Battle of Sharpsburg, broke out on September 17, 1872. This was the bloodiest day in the war. After this brutal battle, the Union was victorious by a narrow margin, but both sides suffered major casualties, leaving a total of 22,000 casualties. Desperate, the Confederates seek the British to help them fight the Civil War. The Confederates offer Britain many crops and an alliance.
The number of casualties were huge. The Union lost 3,155 soldiers, while the Confederates lost 4,708, leaving a total of 7,863 soldiers dead, which was the bloodiest.
The Confederates refused to take the Union in their country, so the Union and the Confederates separate and become different nations. Abraham Lincoln leads the Union, and Jefferson Davis becomes the president for the Confederates. The Confederates take on slavery throughout their whole nation, although the Union completely forbids slavery in their country. Terms of both nations had to be settled. The two most important compromises were the Major River Compromise and the Return Act. The Major Compromise stated that any major river such as the Mississippi River would be shared with both nations. The Return Act forced runaway slaves to be returned to the South to their slave owner. After the Civil War, the Confederates had trouble in their economy. Since the Confederates and the Britain are good allies, they helped each other rebuild their nation. They traded crops in order to keep a stable economy. The Confederates built railroads and different types of transportations to promote trading with Britain. The Confederacy still have the same constitution, but they specify that they have the right to own slaves and that slaves are property. The Civil War was one of the most influential turning points in the United States history. It determined whether the United States would be a slave country or a slave-free country. This greatly determined what is the outcome of the economy in the future. It shows that changing a small factor can completely change the course of history. This helped shape the United States of America that we know today.